Welcome to another episode of the Quip Corners Book Corner. So far, we've been diving into new children's books. We got another one. You'll see my guests you'll see my guest bio in a bit. Please join us and learn about this book too. God bless you. Welcome back to the Quip Corners Book Corner, John.
Hey, thank you so much, Anna. It's such a joy for me to be here back after a long time.
Yes, after a long time.
You know.
But we were chatting briefly, and you said you have a new book.
Yes, I do. It's a very short storybook, and
Mhm.
ironically, when I was dressing up, I didn't realize that my color is matching with the
You're
book.
matching.
So sometimes God works in mysterious ways. So this
He
is a
always
short
does.
story book that I
Okay.
just released about 2 months ago for my
Okay.
birthday on August 12th. So it's a short
Nice.
story. It's basically called Giffy and the Kingdom of Titanica. Giffy
Okay.
happens to be my nickname, and it's Kingdom of Titanica. So Titanic basically means a very huge thing or enormous
Mhm.
thing.
Yeah.
So that's a huge kingdom. So it's a quick story that anybody can read, whether it's a little kid or it can be a young adults or anybody for that matter who loves a nice storybook. There are a lot of images inside
Nice.
that they will be enjoying. They're really interesting that way, you can see. So it's
Yes.
a short storybook with some life lessons that they can carry forward.
Hmm.
And by the grace of God, it hit number one bestseller under one of the categories, I think children's adventures, and also number one new release under two categories as well. So
Nice.
grateful that it just came out about 2 months ago. And I'm glad to talk about this on your show as well.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, happy birthday in
Oh, thank you
arrears
so
and
much.
maybe in advance for next year.
Yes. I don't think we'll have to wait for a year. I'll definitely be back sooner than
Please, please.
that.
Okay.
Yes.
But that's an interesting title. What
Mm.
is the story behind the title of the book?
So basically, I was like, in this season, looking at different ways where I can reach people. We need to reach beyond the four walls of the church. And sometimes just saying I have a Christian book, Christian ministry doesn't necessarily attract people beyond the four walls of the church.
Yes.
And then I realized that my previous book, I'm sure you might have heard of it. I've spoken about it, Unveil Your Purpose.
Yes.
I really had to use that in my own life to unveil deeper levels of my purpose. And I
Hmm.
realized that I always had this gift of writing. And ever since I was a little kid, I used to write a lot of Scooby-Doo stories. That's how I started writing, in fact. My storylines were terrible. The illustrations were horrible. Everything was so bad when you look back at it. But the truth of the matter is, I think I still have some manuscripts. Maybe I can show them. I wrote one of those stories when I was as young as like 7 or 8 years old, a Scooby Doo story where Scooby and the gang don't know how to solve the problem, solve the mystery, and then they pray, and then God helps them. Jesus helps them. And so the moral of the story is pray to Jesus and you get your answer and things like that.
Yes.
So that was me based on my understanding. I had written stories when I didn't even know much about ministry, God,
Hmm.
or anything, but God has been using that gift and
Mm.
working on it, like how I've mentioned this, like when you dig a well, all you get is the mud and the sand and the noise, and it's so clumsy and dirty, and you're like, oh man, I didn't sign up for this. This is not what I want. But eventually you end up getting the water that is what you desire. And that's exactly what happened. I started working on those stories. I wrote all sorts of stories over the years. And then this was one story that I had written that was based out of a dream that I had once. I loved toys. So I had a dream one night that I walked on the road and I fell into a pit, and I ended up in a big, enormous kingdom underneath, which had a lot of toys, and I was enjoying myself in it. So that was the dream. And my mom called me saying, it's time to go to school. But that's how this whole story came in, where it's
Okay.
about a little kid, and his name is Giffy. My name is Giffy. So he just
Yes.
walks on the road, and there's a huge whirlwind that takes him off to this new kingdom called the Kingdom of Titanica. And he ends up having a lot of adventures there. The amazing thing is, uh, in this place, everything is huge. That's why the name Titanica,
Titanica, yeah.
enormous. Everything is really big. So if you are a human being there here, you'll be so small in comparison to the kingdom. So it's
Okay.
a
So that's the
fun.
opposite of Gulliver Travels, right?
Kind of like that, yes. Everything gets rubbed off into you,
Yes.
but then it's more of your unique adventures, like being chased by rats that are as big as you, or getting stuck inside a washing machine and almost soaking, or you try to, it has a lot of those fun elements with a little
Yeah.
bit of touch of romance. There's two people who get into trouble because this little kid ends up, eating the king's food and stuff like that. So a lot of adventures, and ends up having an acquaintance with the princess who of the kingdom. She's about to take over the kingdom, and then how they end up being together. She likes him, and then she starts to take care of him. So it's like a really nice story which has a lot of like adventure
Okay.
and a lot of emotions involved, and at the same time, things just suddenly start going bad. But through that, the test of friendship, the test of character comes into the picture. And there's another side to this where it talks about how the people here have this X mark. So if you actually see the behind story, how I got this idea is like, how the Antichrist mark and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but then it's an indirect way of how people put their trust on this. Oh, if we have this immortality X mark, we're going to live forever. And then they realize that that doesn't work. There's a destruction of the kingdom. And finally, she ends up coming on his side and
Hmm.
getting saved. So the lot of stories about facing your fears, sorry, a lot of lessons about facing your fears, or even building good relationships, or even when you go through tough times, don't give up, keep going, things will get better. So a lot of lessons that people can carry forward from this short story book.
Hmm. Nice. Nice. Wow. It sounds
Yeah.
like there's a lot in that book. So how
Yes.
easy, I mean, yes, you said it was based on a dream, but
Yes.
how easy was it to, shall I say, write the book?
The I mean, since it was my gift to write it, I found it easy to just let my imaginations flow and then started to write. But the difficulty that I faced was, anything I took. Like for example, the initial story was written that he was walking. Like I said, I was walking on the street and I fell into a manhole. With a minute, my story ended up going in that direction. Somebody said that sounds like I don't know what is this, Alice in Wonderland, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, Alice
She
in
falls into a
Wonderland.
pit.
That's what I was
Yeah.
thinking of too.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And so I had to come up with this whirlwind mechanism. And when the minute you also told me this, doesn't this sound kind of like Gulliver's Travels? So the harder part for me was to make sure that even though it's my unique creativity, how can I make sure that somebody doesn't say that I copied somebody else's work?
Yeah,
You get what I'm
yeah,
saying?
that's
That was
true.
the harder part because my
Mhm.
imagination. See, I didn't even remember or think of Alice in Wonderland when I wrote about it. Or I didn't think of Gulliver. I mean, Gulliver's Travels. Even yeah, I heard Gulliver's Travels, but I never. It was not like the inspiration for me to write this.
Yeah.
But the fear of somebody coming up and saying, "Oh, you know what, whirlwind mechanism, it's there somewhere, in some other
Yes.
movie or something," or talking about, because there's actually you can see in this. This is how that whirlwind
Okay.
mechanism looks like.
Yes.
So
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So what if some other character in some other movie or some serial has some similar idea? They're going to say I copied out of it. So that was what the challenge was, to make sure that there's nothing that somebody can say that it was ripped off of them.
Yes.
But at the same time, to the whole idea for me was like a testing of waters to see how people relate to stories. and
Mm-hmm.
and eventually, even if you think it's just a stupid story, by the end of the day, I feel that there are lessons that you can carry forward, and that's what brings the uniqueness to the table,
Do it.
right? It's not just a storybook, but it's something that can be something as simple as your actions have consequences.
Yes.
So a lot of people don't even think about that, or it's just my life, I can do whatever I want to do. But things
Yeah.
like that are lessons that they can carry forward, and I think it will really play a big role in their life. So that's
Nice.
what I'm
That's
doing.
beautiful. I recognize that challenge of trying to ensure originality.
Yes.
I mean, because even like the books I write, which are quips, I
Mm,
keep saying to myself, have I heard this before? Or was it a direct download from the Holy Spirit? And
yes.
sometimes after I've published my book, I see quips that are similar, and then I'm
Mm.
like, I know I didn't copy someone, but in the scriptures it said that there's nothing new
Mm.
under the sun, so
Yes.
I think God expects us to put our own spins on the same thing
Mm.
over and over again. That's just I think that's just how
Actually,
it is.
I'm reminded of this popular quote, worry is like a rocking
Rocking
chair.
chair
You
gives you
see,
something to do.
yes. So I thought it was Joyce Mayer's quote, and then I realized that there's another person with the same quote, and the
Yes,
difference between Joyce Mayer's quote and that person's quote is just one word in that sentence.
yes, yes. That's a
That's
great
when I
example.
realized.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
so sometimes we think that you have to come up with something totally new. Like, I mean, no, I mean it's about, even if this was a copy of Gulliver's Travels, just an example I'm saying. I
yes,
mean, if
yeah.
it's
It's
just
not.
not the
Yes,
case,
we know it's not.
it's
Yes,
yeah. Uh, Still, the aspect of the storyline and the aspect of Gulliver's Travels doesn't have a guy and a girl. So here's a
yes,
princess. So there's the uniqueness to it, and the life lessons. I feel that's what brings the uniqueness to the table. And
yes,
so if we are worried, like, oh, what if somebody else thinks that this is already there or something like that, we can never create something new. You know what I
yes.
mean, right?
That's true.
I
That's
believe
true.
that that's where the whole idea comes. I mean, just for example, I recently got this. It's a Barbie with Scooby Doo's Daphne. Okay,
Okay,
the thing is that this is a very unique piece in the fact that this was a limited edition,
okay.
right? So now, because there are very few in number, the value of it is like,
Higher.
wow, oh, the limited edition. So the thing that makes it limited edition is that there are millions of Barbies out there. But the unique thing that you bring to the table is Barbie with Scooby Doo's Daphne.
The
And the
crossover.
limited
Yes,
crossover. And in that, this is actually Scooby Doo of the 2002 live action movie. So that makes it even more unique. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So the more unique you bring to the table, even if there are millions of Barbies, this is limited edition and it has a big value because of that unique, marriage of Barbie and Scooby.
yes.
Likewise, you can have the same, there are so many Barbies. You can have the same message as somebody else, a similar
Mm-hmm,
story like somebody else.
mm-hmm.
But what you have as an individual, that experience makes the difference.
Yes,
That
that's true.
uniqueness that you bring to the table makes the difference.
Yes, indeed.
Even the name Giffy, in people often think like in India, there's only dishwash bar with the name Giffy. Like
Oh,
washing the
okay.
dishes. So they thought, I know, and then I was like, no, that's my nickname. So it's a very unique thing. So the minute they
Yes.
think of that dishwash bar, they remember the book. So,
Yeah, well, I guess there's a connection. There's a whirlwind and
so
there's a dishwasher.
yeah,
So,
yes. So I believe in that, bringing
Okay.
something different, bringing
Yes.
something new, and then bring a spin to it, and then that's how you make a difference. You don't need to come
Yeah.
up with something brand new sometimes.
Yeah. And that's true. I agree with you. So can you share with us one or two specific, I mean, I know you had been dropping nuggets, like breadcrumbs across, but life
Mm.
lessons that come through your book, one or two.
Uh, Yeah, so one of the lessons is when he's going into this thing, right? Like he has to come up with a lot of creativity. Like
Hmm.
for example, he's a tiny character in the side of a big place, so he has to look at all the things. Oh, there's a rope that looks like that's as big as an anaconda.
Okay.
He needs to move the washing machine to one place, and then he finds a toy car that's as big as a real car. So how he takes this anaconda rope and then he connects it. And remember, all of this is when he's just 11 years old. So 11-year-old
Mm,
old kid coming up with all of these ideas, because like the survival instinct kicks in when you don't
yes.
have any other way. And so the same kid that was crying initially looks at all of these things and then just says, okay, let me tie this up and let me see if I can move this. So there is this air dryer, where they dry the clothes. So he tries to pull this in with a rope, and then he is able to pull the washing machine towards the door so that he can climb in. And he uses all of these unique ideas.
Hmm.
And it just says, in the Proverbs, the diligent make use of everything they find. I love that.
Mm.
So it
Which
means that you
translation is
can't
that?
really. Huh?
Which translation? That sounds, I like
This
that.
is in the NLT version. It's in
Okay.
Proverbs 12:27. So they look at everything and it goes on to say the fools on the other hand, they don't even eat the game they catch.
Yes. They're too
Right?
lazy to roast it.
Yes.
Yes.
So compared to that, so that's one of my heart's desires. I tell people all the time, make use of everything you find. Make use of
Yes.
everything. Like if I'm saying, like I said, I made use of a story that I just came out of a dream, or I made
Hmm.
use of this Barbie doll in this example.
Yes. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
make
Yeah.
use of everything that you find for the building of God's kingdom in its real life, however it is. That's my heart. That's what I tell people. Because a
Nice.
lot of times I tell people, oh, they say, I don't have this, I don't have that. Like, all you need is a phone. Just get started with that. I started my ministry with the phone. I just completed 12 years 2 weeks ago. So
Wow.
that's another milestone. It just started with the
Yes.
phone. So, you don't need all the big equipments. You don't need everything huge to start. You just need to get started. And for
Yes.
that, so he takes one step after another, and then he messes things up, and then he falls, and the door bangs open. But it makes a way for him to get into the place.
Yeah.
And then there is, all of these huge bottles, and he tries to climb into them, and he falls and slips over, and because of that noise, it's somebody comes in and opens the door for him to escape through the other side.
Yeah.
So sometimes even the mistakes you make or the things that don't work out will actually help you get closer to your
Where you need
destiny.
to.
It will actually
Nice.
take you to the next level. So things
Yeah.
like that you can just take in, and as he goes, like with all the fun that he has with the conversations. So it's just these things,
Beautiful.
like,
Yeah.
yeah.
It sounds really
So
exciting. It sounds like an exciting book. And I know that your books are usually available on Amazon. Where
yes, they
else
are.
can people get copies of your book?
I would recommend for the time being, especially in the US, in Canada, anywhere around the world, I would recommend Amazon.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
So for those viewers who may be in
So the book is
Asia,
available on Kindle as well as on a
okay.
paperback. So
Okay.
they can
Okay.
choose
So
to get
Amazon
the Kindle
worldwide.
version if they want to.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Nice. Nice. So people who live closer to you, if they want an autographed copy, how is that possible?
They can just contact me, and maybe I
Okay.
can just sign and send it across to them.
Okay. Excellent.
Hey.
Excellent. But thank you. Thank you for sharing this adventure with us. I
Thanks,
look
and
forward to
thank
having you
you.
here again.
Same
Not
here.
too
Looking
distant
forward to
future.
coming back. It was wonderful being with all of
Yes.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
God bless you.
You too.
You know, I think that sometimes people think that writing a book for children is easy. Just listening to John and, some of the other authors we've had, it's not easy, but it's great when a good story comes together. Well, that would be a nice book to reach out for and share with people around you and glean the life lessons. I look forward to connecting with you through a future episode of the Quip Corner with Ada. God bless you. Bye now.